Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the 2024 NCAA Hunger Games. Today, the 12 teams in the college football playoff will be battling it out for the second ultimate prize, victory in the Hunger Games. Can a team win both the CFP and the Hunger Games? We don't know. But to find out, stay tuned and watch the entire video, as we have 48 great tributes for you today. 4 from each school. Here's how they were selected. They were selected by the last 4 recent draftees from each school by year. So, our 48 inductees are from Oregon: Bo Nix, Jackson Powers Johnson, Troy Franklin, and in for Kyrie Jackson, who sadly died 5 months ago, Brandon Dorless. For Georgia, Brock Bowers, Amarius Mims, Ladd McConkey, Kamari Lassiter. And for Boise State, we have J.L. Skinner, Scott Matlock, Khalil Shakir, and John Bates. For the Arizona State Sun Devils, we have Nesta Jade Silvera, Rashad White, Jack Jones, and DJ Davidson. Next up for Texas, we have Byron Murphy II, Xavier Worthy, Devondre Sweat, and Jonathan Brooks. For the Penn State Nittany Lions, we have Olu Fushanu, Chop Robertson, Caden Wallace, and Adissa Isaac. For the Fighting Irish from Notre Dame, we have Joe Alt, Blake Fisher, Marsley Flaw, and Cam Hart. From the Ohio State Buckeyes, we have Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Hall Jr., Case Strover, and Tommy Eichenberg. From the land of Tennessee, Bulls Nation, we have Jalen Wright, Joe Milton, Kamal Hayden, and Darnell Wright. From Indiana, we have Micah McFadden, Jamar Johnson, Simon Stepanik, and Wes Martin. For the SMU, we have Rashi Rice, Danny Gray, Grant Calcaterra, and Brandon Steffens. And finally, and for the Clemson Tigers, we have Nate Wiggins, Rook Ororo, Will Shipley, and Xavier Thomas. Those are our 48 contestants for this year's Hunger Games. May the odds ever be in your school's favor. And here we go. As the tributes stand in their podium, the horn sounds. Xavier Thomas strangles Scott Matlock after engaging in a fistfight. T. Sweat runs away from the cornucopia, along with Johnson Powers Johnson, Rashi Rice, Brandon Steffens, Nate Wiggins, Kamir Lassiter, Micah McFadden, Joe Melton, and Cam Hart. Romus Olus, the guy in for Kyrie Jackson, scares John Bates away from the cornucopia. Marvin Harrison Jr. stays at the cornucopia, and for resources, Nesta Jade Silvera grabs a sword. Maris Leafo and Bo Nix fight for a bag. Maris Leafo gives up and retreats. Rook Orojo scares Joe all the way from the cornucopia. Byron Murphy II snatches a bottle of alcohol and a rag. Amarius Mim takes a handful of throw knives. J.L. Skinner snatches a pair of size. Kamal Hayden gathers as much food as he can. Cade Strover, Simon Stepanik, Blake Fisher, Danny Gray, Khalil Shakir, Xavier Worthy, Chop Robertson, and Jonathan Brooks run away from the cornucopia. Grant Calcaterra bashes Jack Jones' head in with a mace. Jamar Johnson finds a canteen full of water. DJ Davidson finds a bag full of explosives. Brock Bowers breaks Ladd McConkey's nose for a basket of bread. Will Shipley receives a try inside the cornucopia. Rashad Wright runs away from the cornucopia. Olu Fushanu, Troy Franklin, and Caden Wallace work together to get as many supplies as possible. Wes Martin stays at the cornucopia for resources. Tommy Eichenberg runs away from the cornucopia, along with Michael Hall Jr. and Jalen Wright, while Adissa Isaac retrieves a trident from inside the cornucopia, and Darnell Wright finds a bag full of explosives. Day 1. Joe Milton strangles DJ Davidson with a rope. Camille Lassiter camouflages himself in the bushes. Kamal Haddon defeats Amarius Mims in a fight but spares his life. Khalil Shakir hunts for other tributes. Brock Bowers tries to spear fish with a trident. Michael Hall Jr. receives fresh food from an unknown sponsor. Bo Nix injures himself. Wes Martin is unable to convince Jackson Powers Johnson to not kill him. Tiandre Sweat steals from Caden Wallace while he isn't looking. Chop Robinson chases Cade Strover. Joe Alt throws a knife into Olu Fashanu's head. Cam Hart stalks Nesta Jade Silvera. Simon Stepanik discovers a cave. Rashi Rice camouflages himself in the bushes. Jalen Wright searches for firewood. Marvin Harrison Jr. discovers a river. Timmy Eichenberg diverts Nate Wiggins' attention and runs away. Xavier Thomas collects fruit from a tree. Adissa Isaac tries to spear fish with a trident. Blake Fisher, J.L. Skinner, and Ladman McConkey get into a fight. Blake Fisher triumphantly kills them both. Troy Franklin, Darnell Wright, Rook Orojo, and Jonathan Brooks hunt for other tributes. Maurice Liafu and Jamar Johnson split up to search for resources. Whip Shipley Font searches for a water source. Kyrie Jackson's player, I forget his name, sorry, attacks Danny Gray, but Rashad Wright protects him, killing Kyrie Jackson. So, unfortunately, Mr. Kyrie Jackson Steppen couldn't survive. A quick rest in peace for Mr. Kyrie Jackson. He was unfortunately killed 5 months ago in a car crash right after he was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. We are very sorry for his family and for his loss. We will move on for now. Grant Caltera searches for firewood. Byron Murphy second makes a slingshot. John Bates goes hunting. Brandon Steffen searches for a water source. Xavier Worthy travels to higher ground. And Micah McFadden makes a wooden spear. 8 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Scott Matlock, Jack Jones, DJ Davidson, Wes Martin, Olu Fashanu, J.L. Skinner, Lad McConkey, and Kyrie Jackson. Now for night 1. Rook Orojo sees a fire but stays hidden. Maurice Liafu and Cam Hart hold hands. Darnell White passes out from exhaustion. John Bate passes from exhaustion. Jamar Johnson bashes Adissa Isaac's head in with a mace. Will Shipley thinks about home. Marvin Harrison Jr. taints Brandon Steffen's food, killing him. Byron Murphy II forces Simon Stepanik to kill Caden Wallace or Brock Bowers. He decides to kill Caden Wallace. Rasheed Race and Tiandre Sweat stay awake all night. Jonathan Brooks sees a fire but stays hidden. Chop Robinson convinces Kamal Haddon to snuggle with him. Cade Strover's trap kills Amarius Mims. Bo Nix thinks about winning. Khalil Shakir passes out from exhaustion. Xavier Thomas receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Rashad Wright tends to Grant Caltera's wounds. Kamir Lassiter and Xavier Worthy hold hands. Jalen Wright thinks about home. Micah McFadden begs for Danny Gray to kill him. He refuses, keeping him alive. Jackson Powers Johnson receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Nesta Jade Silvera begs for Tommy Eichenberg to kill him. He refuses, keeping him alive. Joe Alt sees a fire but stays hidden. Troy Franklin, Blake Fisher, and Joe Milton get into a fight. The wide receiver Troy Franklin triumphantly kills them both. Nate Wiggins receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Michael Hall Jr. dies from hunger. Day 2. Simon Stepanek explores the arena. Tiandre Sweat diverts Chop Robinson's attention and runs away. Grant Caltera is pricked by thorns while picking berries. Rasheed Rice dies from thirst. Micah McFadden questions his sanity. Joe Alt overhears Camille Haddon and Jamar Johnson talking in the distance. Nesta Jade Silvera fishes. Ruko Rojo chases Bo Nix. Brock Bowers begs for Khalil Shakir to kill him. He refuses, keeping Brock Bowers alive. Maurice Leafo kills John Bates with a sickle. Xavier Worthy thinks about home. Byron Murphy scares Nate Wiggins off. Darnell Wright runs away from Cam Hart. Tommy Eichenberg spears Danny Gray in the abdomen. Rashad Wright stabs Xavier Thomas with a tree branch. Cade Strover stalks Jackson Powers Johnson. Jonathan Brooks picks flowers. Troy Franklin stalks Trey Wright. Marvin Harrison Jr. stabs Will Shipley in the back with a trident, and the Camille Lassiter dies of dysentery. 13 cannon shots can be heard in the background. Adissa Isaac, Brandon Steffens, Caden Wallace, Amarius Mims, Blake Fisher, Joe Milton, Michael Hall Jr., Rashi Rice, John Bates, Danny Gray, Xavier Thomas, Will Shipley, and Kamir Lassiter. Night 2. Brock Bowers destroys Cam Hart's supplies while he is asleep. Kamal Hodden fends Nate Wiggins, Jalen Wright, and Bo Nix away from his fire. Tommy Eichenberg defeats Micah McFadden in a fight but spares his life. Cade Strubber receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Troy Franklin begs for Byron Murphy II to kill him. He refuses, keeping Troy Franklin alive. Xavier Worthy sets up camp for the night. Maurice Liafu cooks his food before putting his fire out. Nesta Jade Silvera and Khalil Shakir sleep in shifts. Joe Alt fends Jamar Johnson, Grant Calcaterra, and Tavondre Swift away from his fire. Marvin Harrison Jr., Paxton, and Jackson Powers Johnson run into each other and decide to truce for the night. Darnell Wright and Ruka Rojo run into each other and decide to truce for the night. Chop Robinson attempts to start a fire but is unsuccessful. Jonathan Brooks and Simon Stepanak hold hands, and Rashad Wright screams for help. Day 3. Joe Alt searches for firewood. Brock Bowers thinks about home. Jackson Powers Johnson overhears Devondre Sweat and Jalen Wright talking in the distance. Jonathan Brooks discovers a cave. Darnell Wright, Nesta Jade Silvera, Bo Nix, and Kamal Hodden raid Nate Wiggins' camp while he is hunting. Chop Robinson tries to spear fists with a trident. Simon Stepanek receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Tommy Eichenberg receives fresh fruit from an unknown sponsor. Cade Strubber searches for firewood. Marvis Harrison Jr., Byron Murphy II, Troy Franklin, and Maurice LaFille raid Ruka Rojo's camp while he is hunting. Grant Calcaterra and Rashad Wright hunt for other tributes. Khalil Shakir camouflages himself in the bushes. Jamar Johnson and Xavier Worthy split up to search for resources. Micah McFadden is pricked by thorns while picking berries. Cam Hart searches for a water source. No cannon shots can be heard. Everyone has survived the day. For now. Night 3. Jonathan Brooks and Brock Bowers hold hands. Joe Alt, Xavier Worthy, and Kamal Hodden cheerfully sing songs together. Devondre Sweat, Grant Calcaterra, Bo Nix, and Khalil Shakir tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. Chop Robinson silently snaps Simon Stepanek's neck. Maurice LaFille repeatedly stabs Tommy Eichenberg to death with his size. Darnell Wright, Cade Strubber, and Rashad Wright sleep in shifts. Troy Franklin, Micah McFadden, and Byron Murphy II track down and kill Cam Hart. Nate Wiggins attempts to start the fire but is unsuccessful. Nesta Jade Silvera stays awake all night. Marvin Harrison Jr. convinces Jalen Wright to snuggle with him. Jackson Powers Johnson tends to Ruka Rojo's wounds. Jamar Johnson looks at the night sky. Day 4. Darnell Wright, Rashad Wright, and Jalen Wright get into a fight. Darnell Wright triumphantly kills them both. Nate Wiggins, Chop Robinson, and Maurice Liafu hunt for other tributes. Nesta Jade Silvera questions his sanity. Brock Bowers, Khalil Shakir, Cade Strubber, and Tavondre Sweat hunt for other tributes. Ruka Rojo kills Kamal Hodden with his own weapon. Byron Murphy II injures himself. Jonathan Brooks thinks about home. Troy Franklin collects fruit from a tree. Joe Alt steals from Jackson Powers Johnson while he isn't looking. Xavier Worthy makes a slingshot. Micah McFadden receives medical sponsors from an unknown sponsor. Marvin Harrison Jr. fishes. Grant Calcaterra overhears Jamar Johnson and Bo Nix talking in the distance. 6 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Simon Stepanek, Tommy Eichenberg, Cam Hart, Rashad Wright, Jalen Wright, and Kamal Hodden. Night 4. Ruka Rojo receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Jonathan Brooks sees a fire but stays hidden. Nesta Jade Silvera receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Byron Murphy II fends Darnell Wright, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Micah McFadden away from his fire. Joe Alt receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Troy Franklin questions his sanity. Maurice Liafu sets up camp for the night. Jackson Powers Johnson throws a knife into Xavier Worthy's head. Chop Robinson receives medical sponsors from an unknown sponsor. Bo Nix thinks about winning. Khalil Shakir sets an explosive off, killing Jamar Johnson, Nate Wiggins, Brock Bowers, and Cade Strubber. Grant Calcaterra receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Tavondre Sweat receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Grant Calcaterra receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Byron Murphy II poisons Tavondre Sweat's drink but mistakes it for his own and dies. Chop Robinson makes a wooden spear. Joe Alt discovers a cave. Maurice LeFeu constructs a shack. Ruka Rojo sees smoke rising in the distance but decides not to investigate. Jackson Powers Johnson kills Khalil Shakir with his own weapon. Micah McFadden searches for a water source. Bo Nick steals from Darnell Wright while he isn't looking. Troy Franklin runs away from Nesta Jade Silvera. Jonathan Brooks tends to Marvin Harrison Jr.'s wounds. 7 shots can be heard in the distance. Xavier Worthy, Jamar Johnson, Nate Wiggins, Brock Bowers, Kate Strover, Byrod Murphy II, and Khalil Shakir. Here is the status right now for the Hunger Games. Right now, in first place, with 3 members alive, 2 of them having 3 kills, is the Oregon Ducks. With Bo Nix, Jackson Powers Johnson, and Troy Franklin still being alive, with Johnson and Franklin both having 3 kills. The other ones in second place right now is we have a 2-way tie for second place between District 5 and District 7, aka Texas and Notre Dame, with 2 members. As for everyone else, they all have 1 member, but 2 teams are officially eliminated. Those being the Georgia Bulldogs and the Boise State Broncos have all died. 10 schools remain. Now, on to night 5. Nesta Jade Silvera and Troy Franklin talk about the tributes still alive. Maurice Leafu kills Darnell Wright with his own weapon. Jonathan Brooks lets Jackson Powers Johnson into his shelter. Micah McFadden and Grant Caltera tell stories about themselves to each other. Marvin Harrison Jr. receives a fresh food from an unknown sponsor. Ruka Rojo sets an explosive off Kill and Joe Alt, Bo Nix, and Tavondre Sweat. Chop Robinson goes to sleep. The time for the feast. The cornucopia is replenished with food, supplies, weapons, and memoirs from the tribute's family. Hold on, folks. No, Piggy. This is just fake. There isn't real food in here. Well, you can go down to the kitchen if you want, sweetie. Okay, bye. Sorry, folks. That was my adopted daughter, Piggy, one of the smiling critters. Anyway, let's get back to that. Chop Robinson, Nesta Jade Silvera, and Maurice Leafu track down and kill Ruka Rojo. Grant Caltera shoots an arrow at Troy Franklin, but misses and kills Micah McFadden instead. Jackson Powers Johnson bleeds out due to untreated injuries. Jonathan Brooks and Marvin Harrison Jr. get into a fight over raw meat, but Marvin Harrison Jr. gives up and runs away. Day 6. Grant Caltera and Nesta Jade Silvera hunt for other tributes. Chop Robinson receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Maurice Leafu tries to spear with a trident. Marvin Harrison Jr. severely slices Troy Franklin with a sword, and Jonathan Brooks questions his sanity. 8 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Darnell Wright, Joe Alt, Tavondre Sweat, Ruka Rojo, Micah McFadden, and the rest of the Oregon Ducks, Bo Nix, Jackson Powers Johnson, and Troy Franklin. The team that was just in first place has now fallen in one day. Here is the status on the remaining tributes. Only 6 schools remain, each with 1 person. The school is still in competition. From Arizona State University, Nesta Jade Silvera. From Texas University, Jonathan Brooks. From Penn State University, Chop Robinson. From Notre Dame, we have Maurice Leafu. From the Ohio State University, we have Marvin Harrison Jr. And from Indiana, we have Grant Caltera. 6 remain. Only one can win. Here we go. Night 6. Chop Robinson kills Nesta Jade Silvera with his own weapon. Grant Caltera tracks down and kills Maurice Leafu. Jonathan Brooks receives an explosion from an unknown sponsor. Marvin Harrison Jr. cries himself to sleep. And just like that, the Arizona State Sun Devils and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are eliminated from the Hunger Games. Only 4 remain. Grant Caltera diverts Marvin Harrison Jr.'s attention and runs away. Jonathan Brooks attacks Chop Robinson, but he manages to escape. 2 cannon shots can be heard in the distance from Mr. Nesta J. Silvera and Maurice Leofeu. 4 schools remain. Here we go in night 7. Jonathan Brooks goes to sleep. Chop Robinson thinks about home. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Grant Caltera sleep in shifts. Day 8. Grant Caltera cannot handle the circumstances and commits suicide. Damn, and I thought being in Indiana itself was hard. It took a Hunger Games for him to kill himself. I'm not saying that he should, no, but it's a joke about how Indiana is kind of a, shithole, Indianapolis, Indiana, so good they named it 1.5 times. Anyways, Marvin Harrison Jr. discovers a cave, and Jonathan Brooks throws a knife into Chop Robinson's chest. 2 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Grant Caltera and Chop Robinson. This is it, folks. The championship in the Hunger Games. From the SEC, we have the Texas Longhorns representing Jonathan Brooks. And from the Big Ten, Marvin Harrison Jr. representing the Ohio State Buckeyes. Who will win, Longhorns or Buckeye, SEC or Big Ten? Let's find out. In night 8, Jonathan Brooks catches Marvin Harrison Jr. off guard and kills him. The winner is Jonathan Brooks from District 5. Texas University wins the 2024 Hunger Games. Jonathan Brooks is the winner. The running back from North Carolina for the Carolina Panthers wins it all. Talk about an insane day. We went to the final 2 and it ended just like that. Jonathan Brooks has won the 2024 NCAA Hunger Games, and Texas, even if you don't win the national championship, you're still the 2024 Hunger Game champion school. This has been a fun thing. I'm excited to do this every single year. It will now be the 3rd Tuesday of every year due to the committee posting the playoff on the 2nd Sunday of December, so I'm going to have to move it up. So from now on, it will be the 3rd Tuesday of December every single year. Once again, this has been a fun thing. Thank you everyone for listening in. Congratulations to all 12 teams that make it in. At the current moment, it is 11:30 a.m. on December 11th. So playoff hasn't even started yet, but we shall see who wins it all. My pick is Oregon over Georgia in the championship in Atlanta, but we'll see how it goes. This is Nathan Dodd, signing out. Until next time.